Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Excel Essentials series. Today, we'll be diving into one of the most powerful features in Excel: formulas and functions. A formula is simply an expression that performs a calculation on data in your worksheet. It can add, subtract, multiply, divide, and do a lot more. The key thing to remember is that every formula begins with an equal sign. For example, if we want to calculate how much was spent on education in the month, we need to say equal to, we have our amount spent on education in cell C1. So you say equal to C1, sorry, C2, equal to C2 plus C3 plus C4, and then you hit the enter key. This is how you use simple formulas in Excel. You start with an equal sign. You include the cell references, which in this case are C1, C2, C3, and C4. And the cell references are, of course, the data that you want to perform calculations on. And then you ensure you input your your operator, which in this case is the addition, the plus sign. Formulas can get more complex as you build them, but this is the foundation. While a formula is an expression that performs a calculation, a function is a pre-built formula that Excel provides to make complex calculations easier. Essentially, a function is a specific formula designed to do a task for you. So while we were trying to compute the total amount that was spent on education, we built our own formula to say cell C2 plus C3 plus C4. But if we were going to use an Excel function, because we want to calculate the total amount spent on a category, we're going to call up the summation function, which starts, of course, with the equal to sign. So equal to sum, you open a bracket, and you drag everything that relates to education, as in this case, and here you get it. This is Excel performing the function for you using a pre-built formula, which is the sum. So in summary, formulas are custom calculations that you build yourself. Functions are Excel's built-in formulas for common tasks like summing values, averaging data, finding the minimum or maximum values, and a lot more. Functions simplify your work by letting Excel do the heavy lifting. Okay. Now, there are some instances where the data that you download or you want to use are proving difficult. Okay. For example, let's look at cells N to N and O. We have data on inflation, Nigeria's inflation for a given period. And if you try to compute, for example, let's say we want to compute the average inflation in the first quarter of 2020. And then, of course, to compute the average, let's call up the Excel function average. So equal to average, and we say we want to average, of course, the first 3 months. It's giving us an error message. When this happens, it's good to check and ensure that your data is actually reading as numbers. So if we look, just putting our cursor on the data, we can see showing under the number group in the home tab, we see that it's actually reading as numbers, but still it's not computing, giving us the averages. Again, let's just ensure that it's actually numbers. Yes, it's still numbers. We've now been able to confirm that it's numbers, but it's still not working. So we can use a pre-built function to force the numbers to actually read as numbers. So we're going to do that in cell P. But let us come here and say we want to see the averages show on cell P, and we want the average inflation for the first quarter of 2022. We force our data to read as numbers. We're going to use, say, equal to, use the value function and highlight the cell, close the bracket and say enter. And then you either double click at the edge when the cursor changes or you drag down. And there you go, we have our data. Okay, so this is our data on average inflation now reading as numbers. That's all for today's video on formulas and functions in Excel. I hope you now feel more comfortable with the basic concepts of creating formulas and using functions to simplify your work. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might find it useful. See you in the next video, and happy learning.